Welcome to the Zuffledar Commodore 64 Assembly Language Programming Tutorial Series Finale, Episode 9. In this series, I covered some of the basic steps required to create a scrolling adventure game in the spirit of the Ultima series of games. Watching this is kind of like being a fly on the wall, watching me as I develop the program's code. In Episode 8, I covered a method for loading in small maps from memory when the E key was pressed. In this video, I implement loading those same player maps from disk instead of memory. This could potentially allow for many more maps as well as larger maps which could be loaded into memory and swapped in and out. A link to the source code for this project will be listed in the video's description. I know there's a lot more that could be done with this project. I mean, now we can enter a new map, but we cannot exit it. There's no player statistics, no overall real game theme or plot, no people or monsters to interact with, no vehicles. Lots missing, but it was never my intention to fully flesh this thing out into a completed game. I was using this series as a tutorial for you guys and to try to keep my skills sharp in this area. I believe if you watch this much, then by now you might have a sense of the scope of a project like this and how long it could take to implement. I do have an idea for one more programming video unrelated to this project, which I'll put out when I have sufficient time, so stay tuned for that. I want to thank those of you who have been faithfully following the series as well as the Pack Clone series. My hope was that I might be able to inspire someone to attempt assembly language programming on their own someday. With that, let's get started with the first segment. Alright, so in the last video where we left off, we had it fully implemented where we can enter these two areas or these two towns or maps. When you go in here from memory and you type E and it enters in. Now there's no way to exit the map and there's some issues, so you have to restart the program in order to test out if the other one works until that issue is addressed. And then so you come up here to the other one, which is loading from memory when you press E. Now, where I'm going in this video is to implement loading those maps from disk. So let's get started on that. What I wanted to do, I'm sure some of you may have noticed that I have a few extra programs here, disk and disk 2. So what I want to do is, let's create a Zuff11. And before we modify anything in Zef10, I should probably go back and comment Zef10 just to say we added a new map. Add new map, change to E key or something like that. And I'll copy my comment over to this one. And then what I wanted to do, because I sort of promised this in a previous video, that I wanted to go into the ability to save off these maps to disk rather than load them out of memory. You don't really only do this if you're doing a really large, game where you're taking up a lot of memory. So probably almost every program would have to do this. That's going to have a large game. So in order to do this, what I've done a little bit of research, and I found a few different programs or ways of doing this rather than reinventing the wheel. And so what I did is I took this from Codebase 64. What this does is it's basically this: load file name, 8,1, but it's in assembly language. So let's look at this one first. What I've done here, I created a file called test. The file that I called test, I'm just going to do it right here. So if we need some sort of a map, and what I could do is just copy the maps directly off of the Zuffledar source code. But just for example, I'm going to save this. And call it test. And what I have found is that when you use the tool that I'm using is called Dirmaster version 3.1.1. I've covered this tool before, but I'm going to cover it again here. What I want to do is create a new disk. So this allows us to create a disk with all these different disk types. And for the Commodore 64, it's the D64 one, which I'm going to use. So this creates a blank disk. And then what I've discovered is you can just drag and drop in there, and that will be your map. When you double click, it shows you the contents of that file. So that's how you get the map on there. Now to get the program, you want to get the program in there as well. And for that we'll use CBM Program Studio. So what I've done in here, I put the file name down here, test. The length of the file name is 4 characters, T-E-S-T. And basically this program here, it loads the map into whatever address that you specify right here. So I have the load address down here, and I put it at 2000, hexadecimal 2000. Instead of hitting F5, you can hit F6, or you can come up here to build program. Instead of to memory, you go to file. And then you save it. I'm going to save it to right onto that folder that I'm using on the desktop. And then I'm going to drag and drop it into Dirmaster. And then hit save. And boom. Now when I run this, I just double click it. It's doing a load asterisk startup. I don't trust that, so what I'm going to do, let's do a few things. Load $. Let's look at the contents of the disk to make sure it's put something there. Then let's load disk, comma 8, comma 1. Now I have the program set to execute at position at 1000, which is 4096. So SYS, before I do that, let's clear the screen. I would hit shift clear, but I'm on my PC keyboard. Now, see how it says searching for test loading? Let's go to the monitor and look at position 2000. There's my map right there. So how cool is that? Now, the problem with this methodology is that it's doing it's printing this searching for test, and that would be fine for most applications, but for this program I don't want it to print that on the screen. Now there might be a way of suppressing it that's fairly simple, and if anyone knows what that is, let me know, but I'm not sure and I don't feel like digging into it. So what I did was I looked for another program and I found this one. Now this one's a little longer because it loads it in byte by byte. So instead of loading the whole thing, program in all at once, like in a block mode, this loads it in character by character. It's also on Codebase. And I call that one disk 2. So I have that over here. And it's well commented, but so I have it load at 4096 or 1000 hex. The length of the file name is 4. File name is test. Also I have it load the address at 2000, so it loads what's on the disk into that position. That loads that file name into position 2000, which is 8192. So instead of, what we're going to do is replace the other program with this one. So I'm going to go up here to build program to file. I'm going to overwrite, or it's disk 2, put that on that folder. disk 2. And let's go to Dirmaster. And I need to drag and drop that in. So disk 2 up into Dirmaster. So now I have them both on there. Then you have to hit save to make the changes, put them in effect. And let's go back into it. Okay, so there it is. So let's load disk 2. Just want to clear the screen. So disk 2 is in memory. This is the one that loads it character by character. I'm going to execute it at position 4096. Now you see nothing was printed except for ready, which is not part of the program. Go into 2000, and you see our map is loaded. So now that we know that that program works, the next step would be to bring this program in and to use that instead of the way we're doing now, the maps. So in looking at the program, you could see instead of having 3 maps, 3 times the data, we could have 100 maps, but you only use 1 of the available space. You only need the space for 1 map, and you constantly override it as you go in and out of different maps. So that is the goal of this next step. I'm gonna copy and paste all of this text into separate maps, and basically create text files in Windows with them. And then from there, I'll assimilate that code into Zef11. Now it's a big step because once you do this, you have to run the program using the disk mode. Right now we can just hit F5 and run it, and it runs a local copy when we're not. But when you use the new method, you'll have to attach that image every time. So that's kind of adds extra steps into your project. So really, we don't need these extra maps, new map 1 anymore. And we don't need that one at the bottom anymore. It's taking up extra memory. But what we do need is our disk utility. We're going to want to put these on the disk. Map 1, 2, and 3. You can go into them. Got some weird characters there. Oh yeah, those are the town names. Oh yeah, okay. We'll see if it works. I might have to lowercase those. Worst case scenario, we fall back to Zef10 instead of Zef11 if this doesn't work properly. Okay, so let's grab disk 2. We'll make this a routine. Let's copy it. And we'll use instead of load address, or we can still use load address, but it has to be where the map is located, the map data. So really it should just be game map 0. But you could also use the technique to just throw it right there if you want. Get disk map, give it a name of some kind. You know, we're gonna have to change the file name, and let's look at it again. The map length is still 4 if we keep with that length here, map 1, 2, 3. And so I could essentially strip these out. I do need an F name, but let's bring it up a little. So we can kind of say map 2, map 3 right here, but we need to define those. So let's create some variables for that. I don't think it matters. F name, map 1, file name, map 2, map 3, we're going to have to call it, what did I call it? Get disk map. Oops. Going to have to make some more changes than this. So ideally, this would load the map into memory. The macro really, let's see what we're doing here with the macro. This is where it gets confusing with the macro. Yeah. We can still use the macro, it's not really needed anymore. But we're going to load it into the same position. There's no new map 2 anymore. There is no new map 1. Is there a new map 1 still? Yeah, see, I got rid of that. Look at F10. Yeah, see, I got rid of that. And I got rid of that. Let's go back to F11. There is no new map 1. Instead, we're going to use load address or game map 0. I'm not confident here. We're probably gonna have some problems. Okay. Map 2 F name. Oh, map 3 F name. Okay. Can't run it, or you can't load the map here. We'll get errors. I'm going to save my work. Now in order to run this, I got to go up here, build it to file, or press F6. Call it Zef11. We're going to throw Zef11 onto the disk because it's not on there right now. Save it, and then load it up. Now we're going to load it into memory and execute it. I'm going to enter here, E. Ah, it did load. I think. Let's exit out. Q to quit. Let's run it again. That's what's in memory. I gotta do the hard reset. It's gonna. I just want to enter the other one. So I entered the hashtag. Let's go into the other town. Enter. Yeah, so it is loading something, but something's off too. You can see either I'm a character short. That's weird. Okay. $16 tall. I think I know what could be causing this. I'm going to save a copy. I think I know what's causing this. I think it's these in-align characters. So I'm running on that assumption. So I'm going to remove map 2 and map 3. Right click, remove. Right click, remove, save. Now I'm going to drag and drop map 2 and 3 back on. Save. Now I'm going to try this again and cross my fingers. Pray that it works. sure it's there. Load Zef11, comma 8, comma 1, sys 4096. E to enter. Okay. Now the only issue is the character. I think it's the case. I think if I make this lowercase. And let's run it. I'm not sure why that's not working. E to enter. But at any rate, it's just a matter of swapping those characters out. For some reason, the letters town is the ASCII or the PETSCII characters there instead of the letters. It's a matter of using a different editor and swapping those characters out. And then, of course, the final optimization to make is to just comment out the macro entirely, because you don't need to copy it over. You don't need to copy it from point A to point B. You're just loading it to where it's supposed to go. But the one thing to keep in mind, let's go look at the macro. It's doing that jump at the bottom. So I'm going to copy that, and we don't need this macro at all right now, so I'm going to comment it out. Okay. And we'll add that jump to the main loop. Save that. I want to point out that I added this comment right here, Zef11, implement load map from disk. Now I'm going to do build program to file. And replace Zef11 here. Go into dir master, remove Zef11. Save it, pull in the new version of Zef11, save it, and then test it out. See what's on the disk. Load Zef11, comma 8, comma 1, SYS4096. First, let's make sure the first map loads. You see the weird characters. I would have to deal with that if I'm going to implement further. And let's go into the other map. Load Zef11. Well, let's go into the map with the hashtag. And you see, yeah. So it loads both maps perfectly that way. And you see we overcoded at the beginning. We didn't need that macro, didn't need that stuff. Had we known we were going to go with the disk version from the beginning, we could have just did it this way. So anyhow, that was a quick optimization we made to the code. Oops. And now that we know it works, we can strip that out, strip this out. I'll leave the macro in the code so it's there if anyone wants to take a look at it. There's a lot more work to be done here, but I am satisfied at this point where I am in the project. It's exciting to me that I was able to get the disk loading working properly, and it's loading into the right spot right here. Alright, in this segment I'm going to build upon the previous segment, where we implemented the disk operations, and I just wanted to fix so you can hit E, so it would print E to enter. When you type E, I want it printed on the screen, so I'm just going to implement that, and it won't take very long. The first thing we need to do is set up some variables, just with the text in there, like enter what or whatever. So string enter. So when you type the word E, I want it to say enter, and let's do it this way. Enter. If you don't enter, and if you're not on top of a selectable area, then I want it to say enter what. If you're not able to enter something, otherwise I'm going to do an enter town. Or enter city. Just for an example. Then we sort of need to mimic how we're doing the text in the other area. And by mimic, I mean copy. So let's kind of copy this and then put that in where it needs to go. Pick new map, load new map. So right when it picks the map, if you hit E, you get right here. You pressed E to enter. Now if it doesn't find, this is where I want it to say enter what. So I want, the way I've coded this is you have to shift the window up and then you put the text. Enter what. So let's see if that works, just adding that. And you can be anywhere in the map. Okay, so you see it's wrapping around too soon. And I can fix that. So right here is a little macro that shifts the window up, and you give it some parameters. And I believe the parameter that needs to be adjusted is this one. It's only a width of 10. We really want it to be like 38 or something like that. I'm not sure if that alone will fix it. Let's try. So E, yeah, okay. And so now if you hover over the hashtag, I want it to say enter a city. So let's implement that part. So let's see, as we load the map, this is the enter city one. And this is the enter town. I mean, town and city is the same thing. I probably it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but let's see if that works. Now, right now, because I have the implementation set up for the disk, and I'm not loading it into a disk. So it kind of it's not going to go in, it's not going to enter, but at least it's printing it. So that one says enter town, this one says enter city. Okay, now I wanted to do a quick cleanup of the code. I notice here we have a lot of these, JSR sub, shift window, and then enter. So I'm thinking we can just do a quick optimization and put that inside the print text macro instead of calling it, unless there's a good reason not to, but I can't think of one. So just call it right up at the top, and that will, then I can get rid of all these extra calls. Okay, now crossing my fingers and holding my breath. Let's try that. I'll hit E. I'm not in a town. I'm going to E. I'm going to hit E to enter right here. Hit E to enter here. Okay. Now, I'll probably comment, or not comment, but strip all of these out now. Now that I know it works. Build program to file. And let's throw it on my disk here. We'll just put it in the folder at least, is F11, and replace it. Remove F11 from here. Save it. And then copy and paste F11. Back in, save it, and then run it verbatim, just as is, and see if my new changes are in it. So list load Zef11, comma 8, comma 1, execute it. No, immediately when I hit E, if it's working. Okay, now I'm going to enter the town. Is this the town? No, this is the city. E. Oh, it's the town. Okay, I got them backwards. And you see, yeah, it comes in. I got that issue with the character set. I kind of figured that the other one should be the town. Oops. Because it says town center on it. E. So, but either way, that's pretty cool. That's how we got. Now you can't enter, but that's how I got to implement the E to enter, to print that actually on the screen. And that concludes that concludes this segment and the series. It was a pleasure doing this, and I had a lot of fun. Thanks for watching.